I see it as revenge of the moms. That's my own headline.
Oh, yeah.
On what happened last night. They were told their opinions didn't matter, that they needed to stay out of the education of their children. And they, as it always happens in electoral politics, have had the last word.
Yes, indeed they have. And I've been joking the last 2 weeks, the mama bears are out and fighting. And when the mama bears are out and fighting, you want to be on the same side as the mama bears. And Terry McAuliffe got mauled last night. I mean, literally, he doubled and tripled down on parents not having a say in their kids' education. He claimed CRT wasn't actually happening in Virginia, all while Loudoun County, Virginia was the national, not just Virginia, but national epicenter over CRT, transgender issues, safety in schools, and parental involvement. And ultimately, even Virginia law says parents have the final authority over their kids' education. So for Terry McAuliffe to come out the way he did really made him vulnerable. But Glenn Youngkin had to play his part, and he made him pay.
It would be one thing if just McAuliffe had said that and it was a gaffe. And, Rich Lowry has said the worst gaffes are the ones where the politicians tell you what they actually think. Right? About something. That's what happened with him. So it'd be one thing if he misstepped and said that at a debate and then tried to do cleanup for weeks thereafter. That's not what happened. As you say, McAuliffe doubled down and stood by his statement that parents have no rights telling schools what to teach. And it's a sentiment reflected nationwide now, as I see Democrat pundits on TV and members of the mainstream media seeming to repeat that parents don't have any business inserting themselves in this. And to me, it's like, okay, well, let's see how that plays out over the coming elections if you're going to double and triple and quadruple down on that messaging.
And Megyn, I think it's important for people to remember, first of all, a lot of those people are going to get very quiet now. But we need to remember, to your point, that's what they really believe. They said it. They were doubling down on it. It's only now that they see how out of the mainstream they are that they're going to stop saying it, but that does not mean they're going to stop believing it. And when those people get power in the space that can affect education, that's what people can expect to see happen. And Glenn Youngkin said on day one, he's going to get rid of CRT in Virginia schools. That's, that kind of follow through makes being a Republican candidate in Virginia not only survivable, but an opportunity to thrive again.
Can you put this in perspective for us as a guy who knows Virginia so well and obviously ran for governor there yourself and lost to McAuliffe when he won before? How big a victory was this for the Republicans?
Well, like I said, given that it was a 10-point loss last year, and what you haven't heard talked about, so we can be the first, Megyn, is the incredible turnout in this election. If you look at the turnout compared to 4 years ago in the governor race, which was then a modern record, this year blew it away, absolutely blew it away. And if you look at where the biggest increases in turnout were, it was all the Republican areas. I mean, literally some areas ran out of ballots because so many people showed up to vote in this election. It was more like a federal midterm in the 60% turnout range than it was like a Virginia governor's race around 45%. So very high enthusiasm. The education piece played a big role in the enthusiasm. And that flip from last year, I think, is going to set the stage as Virginia has before in 2009, before 10, and in 1993, before 1994, Contract with America. We're seeing that pattern play out again. Our odd year election is showing people what's going to happen across the country next year. I think it's a virtual statistical certainty the Republicans will take back the House, and they have an excellent chance of winning back the U.S. Senate next year. And there's also an election security element here, too.
What do you mean?
Well, the last 2 years, Democrats who got control of Virginia elections, offices. They had the House, the Senate, and the governorship, and they made dozens and dozens of changes to Virginia election laws. We basically ran this year under a Democrat set of rules and won. And so lesson number one is the people who say, oh, your vote doesn't matter, don't show up, they'll steal it anyway. Don't listen to those people. That is not true. And we proved it in Virginia. Mm-hmm. And we have the opposite that happened at the beginning of the year on January 5th, where people believed that sentiment in Georgia, and we lost 2 Senate seats because of that. So that's lesson one. Lesson two is organic Virginians, regular folks, thousands of them this year got trained to be election officials, went in and worked. In Virginia, we call them the registrar. It's a different name in different states, but went in and worked the election themselves. Every local election is run by local citizens because the registrars where you live don't have enough people to do it themselves, so they bring citizens in. And Republicans have always been outnumbered in this space on the inside of these polling places. Well, not this year. This year, the effort made by ordinary Virginians, thousands of them, to get themselves trained and to participate in our 45-day election, because that's one of the changes the Democrats made, was we don't have an election day anymore. We have election season with the 45 days of early voting. That's very difficult to provide all the manpower to cover so that you have the transparency and the security provided by citizens watching every step of the way. But that happened in Virginia, and that can happen in Connecticut where you are. It can happen in every single state in the country. That doesn't require any politics. It just requires effort on the part of ordinary citizens.